Bonnie, you have to get in the front.
You don't be here, you gotta get front.
Do your thing. I need you, sir.
No.
You got it. You got it.
Hello everyone, and thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce Adriana Bonilla.
Hello, I'm Adriana Bonilla. I am here today in remembrance of the event of June 1st, 2022. I actually am a resident of Providence. To be a resident of Providence around that time, my son, he's now nearly 3. At that time, he was a baby and he was nearly 1. It was a very scary time. Near where we are here, there was the police officer car that was burnt on fire, and people were very angry during that time, and they were for defund the police. I understand the the frustration, but I don't think that was the smartest idea of burning a car. That is destruction of property, and I don't think that's how we solve this problem. So I think ultimately if we actually have conversations where we can find some common grounds, that's actually the way to go about it. But again, at that time, it was a very scary time to be a Providence resident. I was actually listening to the radio, wondering, what am I going to do? Do I have to pack my bags, or what's the next move for myself and my family? So today I am just here in remembrance of this, and hopefully I'm hoping that we have some better solutions than the ones that we saw take place that day. Thank you.
On this day 2 years ago, I remember sitting at home watching several live streams on my phone. I watched in disbelief as the city I grew up in was burned to the ground. I watched as the police were taunted and disrespected as they did their best to keep the crowd under control. The next day, my daughter and I decided we would join several others and help clean up the glass and board the buildings. Even when the costs were high, some things will never be the same for these businesses. A lot of these businesses suffer, like St. Pierre, a sneaker store on Washington Street, got vandalized and destroyed, and they'll never recover to this day. I remember it vividly, and my sincere wish is that this history does not repeat itself. John Lugo, an officer of the law, was working that night in 2020. As our main speaker, he will provide even more clarity about the riots and his personal experiences. I present to you, John Lugo.
Thank you, Jess. So my name is John Lugo, and first I'd like to thank everybody that's here today. I would like to give you a brief background of myself for context as to why we're here. I came here to the United States from Puerto Rico at the age of 5, and at the age of 13, I was separated from my family by the Providence Police and DCYF. To say I hated police was an understatement. I was young, confused, lost, and had nowhere to turn to. I ended up in the foster care system, where I met 2 amazing individuals who raised me to become the man I am today. It took just 2 people, not the state, to raise me properly. At 18, my views have changed about the domestic incident that separated my family, and I realized then it wasn't the police's fault, nor was my mother's. Life just handed me a bad hand, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Just move on. And in this country, you can start from scratch and make it. It wasn't till I met my wife's father that I started to change my outlook on police. This Providence police officer at the time showed me what type of person he was. He was a family man that adopted and fostered kids. He gave me a unique perspective of police, and with a newfound view, I applied to become a Providence police officer myself. I am now proudly serving in the city that I grew up in. We're in the same service numbers, 543. Nearly 1 year after my graduation, on June 1st, 2020, Rhode Island saw one of the most violent moments in history. At approximately 2100 hours, 9 o'clock that day, there was a large gathering in front of the mall chanting, "All police are bastards, white supremacists, racist, and demanding that we kneel in front of them. I said no. A Hispanic minority who came from Puerto Rico, came from nothing and fought through the system, was called a racist, a white supremacist, and was told to kneel for them. I said no. These people from the community I swore to protect with my life, these people I have lived next to, classmates, friends, co-workers, or just regular Rhode Islanders stating I was evil just because of my uniform. The gathering kept growing, and I remember hearing people say to their peers, "When are we going to break into the mall?" At a certain point, the crowd started to throw objects at police from the greenery where we're standing in right now. I remembered one of the rioters jumping on a vehicle, resulting in the police having to arrest him. At this point, the crowd became even more aggressive, and some broke through the police line and entered the mall. Due to the lack of manpower, most of our on-duty police force were told to report to the riot, leaving the rest of the city with nearly 0 officers. We left the city defenseless, without police. And if it wasn't for the nearby towns to help cover 911 calls, our law-abiding citizens would have had to defend themselves with whatever means they had. Later, at the intersection of Finance Way and Francis Street, where we are standing now, rioters started to destroy one of the police cruisers and later set it ablaze. We stood there, observing and feeling the heat of the fire. Moments later, the fire department attempted to arrive to put out the flames. However, the rioters again blocked the road, preventing access for the fire trucks to put out the flames. The burn marks are still here from 2 years ago. At this moment, a once-in-a-lifetime event occurred. Police officers from all across the state, including Rhode Island and Massachusetts State Police, came to assist. It was a true definition of the thin blue line. It didn't matter what department you came from, we stood there strong, and we started taking back the city. Rioters started to disperse the area. However, looters were already vandalizing small businesses near Kennedy Plaza. Small businesses that were already struggling to get by due to the COVID shutdown. Walking down those streets appeared to be like something out of a dystopian movie. Broken glass everywhere, graffiti, tossed merchandise everywhere. People walking around with baseball bats and running away with stolen goods. It was horrific to see our small community businesses destroyed. Those businesses gave jobs, paid taxes for schools, and gave people a place to enjoy themselves. I remember those streets with my group. I remember walking the streets with my group until the sun came up and every looter left the area. A total of 65 people were arrested that night, and to the best of my knowledge, only 5 people were charged. Just 5 people out of the hundreds of rioters who were there that night that caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in property theft and damage. Just 5 people. Thank you all for being here. Let's have a moment of silence, and then we'll disperse the area. Let's always remember this day. Thank you all.